Hello everyone, today is February 23rd, 2022. We are here again in Natural Pigments studio. My name is Tatiana Zaitseva and I, like always, assisted by George O'Hanlon, and today we will talk about probably the most useful topic. It's about paste mediums. Before that, I have a news for you. This news has two tails, one good, one bad. So good one, it's we have painting best practices live workshop again in next month, next week on March 1st. It will start March 1st and it will be every Tuesday and Thursday next 3 weeks after. And so it will be, the sessions will be 3 hours each, and usually we spend hour to 2 hours talking. After that it will be live. The bad news is it will be our last live class. That's already would be third one we did during the COVID. And as much as before COVID I was telling artists, then we tired to go all over the world with our classes because we travel so much. But now we understand and we miss we miss audience, we miss to hear you, your problems. And so from that point on, we will have classes only on schools and studios who will invite us. We will not organize our own classes unless I absolutely would want. But so far our schedule looks like this, so probably 3 to 4 classes personal, and like I said, it will be specific schools, and if they will have extra space they will open for public. Other than that, whole painting best practices website probably from April. I can't promise exactly, but we're hoping from April it will be subscription. So for those of you who are following us on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, I invite you to subscribe to Painting Best Practices. And so because all our attention will be probably on that website, because we realize then this knowledge is absolutely needed for you, and you can't find anywhere else, and we would be happy to provide that. More information we will put again on all these 3 platforms and tell you more about this, but please don't take a lot of time just before everything blew up. So just come to us, paintingbestpractices.com. And again, reminder, last live class will be on March 1st. If you still were thinking about come or not, come next Tuesday. Okay.
March 1st.
March 1st. It's Tuesday. Yes. So, today we will talk about mediums. And so we already had 2 sessions last year. Or actually 2 years already. So it's you should see it's about extenders and about happy mediums. I can tell you this: we didn't have one day in our office where we would not have a phone call about our Impasta or Velasquez medium. So we decided today to concentrate just specifically on these 2, plus I just grabbed Barite and I will show you why. So like always, we will have video. It's approximately 20 minutes, so then you know how long it is. You can still ask the questions. We will read the questions and answer immediately. And after video I will show you, like again as always, the swatches. Then you can see what I was working on video, and so then you later will see how it's look like with the color on the swatch drawdowns. Thank you very much. So reminder again. So then the artist materials advisor is still free. We still will continue talk about our products every month. It's probably would be third or fourth Wednesday of the month. Studio tips, on another hand, what George was doing last year, and so we needed to stop because he doesn't have any time. He is making new website. It will be exciting for us. But so far he really doesn't have any time, and who knows George? He doesn't do anything simple. So every studio tips probably will return back probably by May. But every studio tip will become a lesson on painting best practices website later. So that's just I think I cover all questions what I had before. So let's start it. Just to understand, extender pigments look very white through the air, but once you mix with oil, specifically oil, we will talk only about this medium today, it's completely transparent. That's why they called extender pigments. You can see the powder, and so first I'm taking chalk. And in this particular situation, I took chalk with quite big particles. It's 13 microns. And on first instance, I will mix with aged refined linseed oil. That is your probably to-go oil in the studio. So every artists have that in their studios, and so first two pigments I will mix approximately the same amount of oil with the same amount of pigment. So so the first one was it is like now it's chalk, and I put 6 full drops of the oil, making paste. And you can see the paste kind of beige color, but still quite white. Here's baryte. Baryte is much heavier than chalk, and it's behaved different. I don't know if it's noticeable for you how first one was behaving. So it was kind of fluffy, and this pigment, it's much denser. In this case, it will mix much easier.
What's important to understand is that each extender pigment gives a different property when added to paint. And so that's why we're showing several different types. And just to let everybody know that calcite is chalk. It's also calcium carbonate. And baryte, which is a natural mineral, is barium sulfate.
You can see how it's behaved different. It even feels heavier when you touch it. It will be much more apparent when I will put all three of them together. Organoclay. It's one of this you don't hear much, and we provide for you just as a fun pigment to play with. And
it's actually less of an extender pigment, rather more of an additive, because
thank you.
You wouldn't want to use anywhere near as much in paint.
And we will show you why. And you can see this when I slightly try to put on the glass, and you see how the particles, yep, you see that.
And why it's called organoclay? This is a clay. This one happens to be sepulite, but there's also bentonite, smectites, which can be made into organoclays. And clay makes, when mixed with water, makes a kind of a sticky mass. And what they do is they modify this clay so that it does the same thing with oil, but not with water. Or not as much with water, I should say.
Uncle 60, yes. So some of them, and specifically you will see this a little bit later. I specifically show for you, and I will point which one will make a little bit creamier and which one will do a little bit drier. And so it will be obviously like obvious here after maybe another 5 minutes. Just stay put. And why do we do this? It's not like we are teaching you to please do this mediums for yourself, because on the end we made for you ready mediums, and again we will show which one for every pigment. Here we mix in baryte linseed oil. In this case I took medium viscosity. You can take any baryte oil. We have through the years we had many of them. Some of them we are losing on the process, and it's due to situation right now in the world, and George will probably address a little bit about that.
So bodied oils.
I'm saying that why we are missing some
of our
oils.
body oils are no longer available due to the pandemic. There's a shortage of flaxseed for industrial purposes. So this may be a temporary situation, or it may be a more prolonged situation. We'll figure that out. Keep in mind also that why we're showing this, by the way, is we're showing calcite with two different oils. This is the same calcite that we did earlier with refined linseed oil, and you're going to see a completely different behavior. So just by varying the oil and varying the extender pigment, you have entirely different behavior. And that's the point of showing you all of this, is the potential range of behavior that you can impart to oil paint.
So just you see how it's difficult to put that baryte oil, because it's usually you overdo because of due to the body of that, how it's flow.
Yeah, it's also very sticky. You probably wouldn't want to use pure bodied oil anyway, because it sticks everything, and makes it very difficult to brush out.
Yes, and very difficult to mix. You saw how difficult between like first chalk I mixed with aged refined linseed oil. It was work, but not as much. And here baryte, again, heavier pigment, and you will see how that behave with baryte oil. And again, from different angle, we will show you how difficult to mix baryte oil with pigment.
By the way, some of you have put in some questions. We'll do those at the end, especially those that are not directly related to what we're showing right at this moment. You can see that the bodied oil, you require much more oil to make the same type of paint. I shouldn't call this paint, but
yeah,
some paste medium.
Mm-hmm.
So it requires more oil, and that's just because of the large polymers of the oil itself doesn't wet the pigment well.
You saw I overshoot a little bit of oil, so I put a little bit more pigment back.
Now, bodied oil is what you know probably more familiar as stand oil, but that's an anachronistic term. It's arcane. We don't use it because today, if you're reading any kind of scientific literature, they call it bodied oil because it's heavy bodied.
Back to Organoclay, mixing with Barite oil.
And by the way, any of these extender pigments can be added to any paint or medium. You can add it to an alkyd medium, you can add it to just oil like we demonstrated here. And again, the idea is to extend your paint or to change the behavior of your paint. It's not a replacement for paint. And this is the Organoclay. This happens to be a sepia-like clay, but like I mentioned, there are other clays that can be used and that can be modified in this way to do similar types of things.
You can see it's like honey. You can't stop on second how you can do with regular oil.
Yeah, it just keeps flowing. But that's the really nice thing about bodied oils, is it introduces more flow and leveling in your paint.
But if you don't want to add the glass or glassy film to your paint, bodied oil will be wrong medium to use. And again, we will show a little bit later, because even if when we suggest, when you call us and asking about how much bodied oil you can add, we will say probably the most 10 to 15% to the paint, but it will change the appearance of your surface.
You'll see that apparently in just a few minutes.
Yes.
You could also call this putty. In fact, we make a medium called impasto putty, which is just a very stiff paste medium like this.
I specifically didn't show impasto putty in that session because it's very specific one, and only people who absolutely need it we provide for them. Other than that, in raw hands it will look very, very raw medium because it's very stiff, and usually people who use the palette knives to paint, so that would be their medium. So look now,
look at the difference.
Same pigment but different oil.
Yeah, see what a big difference. The bodied oil creates flow, leveling, gloss. That's how it changes paint.
And you see how it's expanding in the and look what now baryte. Look what the difference between chalk and baryte. Although, you know, when you look through the jar, they almost identical. And the difference is then baryte is much more dense pigment. And when you touch it on, you know, with just aged refined linseed oil, it's funny. It feels like butter or margarine actually, but very heavy one. And look at the Organoclay. Did you notice the difference in color? Look, again, we look at the dry pigments almost the same, but look what happened here. And again, notice with Organoclay, I will leave like this, and it's not only keeping the form, and look how it's glossy too.
Yeah.
And
again, that's what bodied oil does.
Yeah.
It creates gloss even in the dried paint film. And you see how the piles with the bodied oil are spreading out. That's what they call flow out and leveling.
So yes, on another hand, if you do want your paint will look like jewel-like or, you know, glossy, so you obviously need to add little bit. Yep, oh, here's like bodied oil. You see that? So here we are mixing our mediums, kind of, with Venetian red, our Venetian red color. We're big particles, and you can see, first of all, there are no changes in color. That's noticeable. There you can see how different look and appearance. So on right side, on is that right side? Is that how it will see on. So
on the left side is the bodied oil.
Yes, and the right side is with chalk and refined linseed, and so how it's matte looking. On the other hand, with baryte, even if it's with aged refined linseed oil, it still will look much more glossy, and it's due to appearance of baryte. So it is why on next 5 minutes I wanted to show you, because we do have two mediums, Impasta and Velasquez, which we absolutely understand. Some of you will be interested to make your own putties. Some of you don't want to do that and just want to use ready. So we do have that mediums for you, and we will explain what extender pigments we used. But in order of baryte, we have as the white color in as the color in our white line. So although if you will look our session, I think from December about white colors, so we cover white baryte there, and it's completely transparent. But it does give different appearance to any color you mix with. And here's your Organoclay. And it does keep a form, and it's still flowing. Now, for those of you who don't want to mix your own pastes, we made for you. Velasquez medium is only chalk, but mixed with bodied oil. So it's why you see how it's behave. It's very long, and it definitely will change the property of your paint. Here's Impasta medium. And in Impasta medium, we used aged refined linseed oil, we have chalk, we have baryte, and we do have little bit of Organoclay, so it will keep the form. And here's our baryte. And again, it's in paint line, not on mediums. In this case, we decided to use as a color, transparent but color.
So the Velasquez medium, chalk and bodied oil, it's actually a blend of oils.
Yes.
To give it that quality. It's not pure bodied oil, because that would be
too much
to work with.
Yes, it will be sticky and you will hate us. So we do that very comfortable. So here's Impasta medium. And Impasta, George specifically made it, then it will stand up. So you can definitely create a Impasta look, texture.
Yeah. There's no leveling or flow out with it.
And it will matten your color. Here's baryte. And just due to it paint, really it's like it's sliding. It's so unusual for any we don't have any other colors like this. So for Uncle 60, that's what I would suggest for you. If you ever need to make a color a little bit more followable, but same time still to keep the the look of the color and the behavior, so I would suggest for you to use the baryte in this case. And of course, for the for opposite, if you do have a little bit more soft paint and you want to stiffen that, so you have two choices. First choice, I would think, so then use the same pigment. If you have, if it happened to be in your studio, if let's say if it's red earth, so or red, like Venetian red or something, so then add specifically the same pigment. If you don't have, so then you have a lot of choices. We have this set. So I remind you, so we have that set at Extenders Pigments. We actually have several sets on our website, where here you have 16 extender pigments, and all of them, each of them will give you different appearance, and definitely will stiffen up the paint. So we have here grounded glass, marble, naphthalene, wollastonite, several chalks because different particle size, which we talk about different particle size on our painting best practices, because that is one of the major differences in behavior of the paint. So the particle size, it's very important. That's why in that set we are putting different particle size of chalks and marble dust and naphthalene and wollastonite. So, and here's Organoclay, and here's everything what you want or you don't want to play. It's there. But nevertheless, so in our website, if you don't want to touch any of that, but I do believe it will be helpful to have in your studio a bag of chalk, and if some pigments or some colors behave not how you want it, that probably would be good to just to stiffen up. And again, baryte on another hand, so which again, if you will look session on December about white colors, where we talk, and I just yesterday grabbed that that swatch, and that's how baryte looks like. You see how transparent it is, and so I did swatch. It's 6 mils. It's quite thick, but you see how it's transparent. So then I promise you to show them exactly the same. So the paint what we were using that session, how they will look like with. So here's with refined. George, can we switch it? So with refined linseed oil. Okay, so let me clean up here for a second. So here how. So here's chalk, here's with baryte, and here's with Organoclay. Can you see? And all of them you can see quite matte. Okay, and here you can see with baryte oil, and you can see how baryte is very, very glossy. Chalk somewhere in the middle. And you can see the Organoclay. And what interesting, I can tell you this, both of this chalk and baryte with refined linseed oil, and especially with baryte oil still wet, where you can see with Organoclay, even with baryte oil, it's already dried out. So therefore, again, never ever used, of course, like what I did 50-50. But if you do want to change the look of the painting, like make it a little bit matte, or speed up the time, so then Organoclay, or we have another one. It's called talc. So again, you can go back and look on previous sessions. So. Will definitely speed up the time and look of that. So here, so we have chalk. So this is just Venetian red, just from the tube. Here's with chalk. With refined linseed oil, and here's with baryte oil. You see how, so there are no changes in the color, although it was 50-50. So, but you can see in appearance. So here with baryte, so again, full color with chalk, and with, I'm sorry, with baryte with refined linseed oil, and here's with baryte oil. You can see again the difference. And here's Organoclay. Here you probably see the difference quite apparent. So this is full color. Here with Organoclay with aged refined, completely dried, and you see how it kept the form. And here's even with Barite oil, and still it's already dried out, and it's 2 days. Big difference, big difference. So
The only thing we want to again reiterate, make very important: do not use too much of organoclay. This is
no
an additive.
Yes.
And it doesn't accelerate drying. This is just an effect due to the amount of oil that it's in the mixture itself. And by the way, a lot of the times the drying time is affected by pigment more so than extender pigments. Extender pigments typically don't hasten drying, except for the fact that if you add extender pigment directly to paint, you're actually decreasing the pigment to oil ratio, so you're going to get faster drying that way. But other than that, if you add a paste of an extender pigment to paint, you're not necessarily going to hasten the drying time.
So this is from December session, so where we were talking about chalk, and that's it's actually again this is on cadmium, and I was showing then it's not changing the color at all, but you can see how, so with chalk it's less glossy, with Velasquez it's more glossy, and so it's depend on the oil. And so here's full body, here's 50-50 with chalk, so you can see that there's no difference in the color.
We have a lot of questions.
Yes, let's answer.
And I'm going to switch.
Yes.
So our first question: are the dry extender pigments also applicable to egg tempera?
Not much, because see again, so this exactly pigments are they white through the actually, you know what? Let me look back, because why would you need extender pigment in egg tempera? Because it's already medium.
Think of it like this: an extender pigment in egg tempera is going to actually be a very transparent white. So
it will be white,
and you really don't need to extend pigments in egg tempera, except if you want to perhaps dull down the color a little bit, reduce its saturation, because you're adding essentially a white. So that's it wouldn't have the same effect as it does in oil paint.
Again, we talk a lot about egg tempera in our painting best practices workshop, and reason why, because this is one of the mediums what actually take so small amount of medium itself, but it's very rich in pigment. So
let's go on to the next one. Oops, I'm sorry. This is in regards to, can we use these pigments for gouache? And the answer is yes.
Same, yes. So
yeah,
that's in this case exactly.
You make watercolor. That's exactly how you make watercolor gouache.
Yeah, you make a little bit more a peg. Okay. So then you add 2 watercolors. Yes, absolutely.
And Margaret asks, in what situations would you use extenders?
In what situations? Okay, so exactly what I just explained to Uncle 60. So if you, let's say, mostly probably like in our paint, because all other paint companies are making paint, they try to make the behavior the same, so then they look almost identical. When you go to our company and you use our colors, some of them long and stringy, some of them short and buttery, some of them behave completely, you can take our 4 red ochres, they all behave different. But let's say you like the color, but behavior of this color is not exactly what you wanted. So let's say it's a little bit runny than you wanted. So you use extender pigment to bulk up or stiffen up. Or so this another way how to make your color transparent. This is probably the most important aspect, because when you were go to school and when teacher taught you how to make color transparent, just putting oil there, instead of putting a lot of oil, which which weakening your film what is it, oil film. So then you make you put extender pigment, and just because it's pigment but transparent, it make your paint transparent. So what every time when we have people call to our office, I every time saying the most safest mediums we have, it's Velasquez medium and Impasta, because it's only oil and very transparent pigment.
Next question, would calcium sulfate be a substitute for calcium carbonate?
No, so it's
calcium sulfate it comes in a lot of different forms. Some forms are called gypsum, which is a hemihydrate form of calcium sulfate, and really is generally not recommended as an extender pigment in oil paint. So yeah, I would avoid it, only because it is in certain forms, like in the form of a hemihydrate, is actually partially soluble in water. So it actually could make your paint a little bit more water sensitive.
We do sell that. We sell that for grounds, and so
that's
you
where
can
it's
buy.
primarily used. Yeah, for glue grounds, animal glue grounds is a big.
It changed, like for if you are painting egg tempera, so it's changed the surface, it's changed the absorbency, and it's again it's some nuances. It's not like we telling you so this is the best or the worst or something. So it's difference.
And Anna asks, if you make a paste that is 1-to-1, what ratio would you recommend for that paste to paint?
Again, that's Anna. That's what good and about specifically that mediums. What you will make, let's say, a paste, and so it's safe to use as much as you want for transparency. But remember, it has the oil. So if your color actually has enough oil for both pigment, what is already in the paint, and for extender, I would suggest do not use, as much with oil. So you can just use dry pigment. But if that behavior okay with you, so then it's safe to use as. Think it's like this. When you make you mix in two colors, let's say blue and yellow, and supposedly it will be green. You mix in them different ratio just for the end result, what you like as a color. Same here, because this is essentially the paint. It's just transparent. So you can mix as much as you want, and that would be your preferences.
Lori asks, do the extender mediums or the pigments change the drying time? We've partially answered that.
Some of them, yes. So as much as George is saying, then it's not. So it's due to the oil. See, that's the point. So every color, every extender take different amount of oil. More oil, obviously it will dry. Yes, yeah. Dry longer. So less oil, it will dry faster, and that's what's happening. Plus, let's say like Velasquez medium, because we do have baryte oil, it's probably a little bit prolonged than like in Impasta medium, because Impasta medium has 3 different pigments. So
yeah, part of it, the fat over lean rules, by the way, because extender pigments have solids in them, then they are, you think of them like paint. So that's so just think of it like a paint and follow that rule there. Let me see, Kip.
Oh, hi Kip.
Hi Kip. Which extenders in order are the most transparent? Crystal glass, pyrogenic silica, calcites, barite, wollastonite.
Okay, I can tell you this. So it's almost like what you put right there. So crystal glass will be first. Silicate
It's
probably would be
pyrogenic or fumed silica is about the same.
same.
If not,
So
actually more because of the particle size.
and so then probably baryte and then calcite. And wollastonite, the very close to the calcite. And by the way, just because Kip remind me by his name even being there. So this Saturday cohorts we have last meeting of the so not last meeting, last Saturday of the month we have our cohorts, and so all people who ever for last 8 years attend our 9 years attend our classes, doesn't matter live or online, welcome to Saturday. So it's 11 o'clock Pacific time every last Saturday of the month.
Okay, and what are the drying times? This is Diane. What are the drying times? I got wollastonite and it takes forever to dry.
That's true. That's true. It's due to the particle size, and just because wollastonite taking a little bit,
and by the way, I assume, Diane, that you're talking about not just simply adding wollastonite to the paint, but adding wollastonite as a paste.
Paste, probably,
Yeah,
yes.
so
because
use less oil.
Oil.
That's the key.
Yeah. If you do make a paste with wollastonite, make as stiff as possible, because and another trick with wollastonite. So when you make a paste, so just leave it alone for maybe 15 minutes, and 15 minutes later add more pigment, and you will see it will take more pigment. So then again let it sit again. And I would not keep it probably in the tube, because it will probably will be very stiff. So keep it in a glass jar or the metal jar. So that would be a good idea for wollastonite.
Again, the key: use less
Oil, yes.
Okay. Does extenders change the refractive index? They do
again?
change the.
Remember, extenders, almost all extenders, refractive index is 1.6261. So
one in the vicinity of upper 1.5
yes
to 1.65.
Yes.
That's the refractive index of extender pigments typically. So adding that to paint will change the delta.
Yes.
Of the sum of the refractive indexes of the paint.
Yes.
And if you want to know more about that,
come to our class.
You come to our Painting Best Practice live webinar.
Yes, we talk about this. I think we have whole sessions for 3 hours. We talk about refractive index every pigment, and so and of course the refractive index of oil is different. So that's you need to calculate you don't need I'm taking back. You don't need to calculate the delta, but you do absolutely understand that once you go through all extender pigments, you understand what they do to the paint.
Uncle 60, why is bodied oil glossy? What changed in the chemistry to make it the gloss?
So remember, again, we talk about that in our class. So then polymers of the bodied oil are much longer, and so therefore when they envelop the pigment, they look different, they slide different. George has this amazing explanation about polymers in bodied oil, because think it's about polymers in aged refined linseed oil. They just small dots, they're small, and so that's why when you pour it, they just it's fluid. But when it's bodied oil, polymers are much longer, and so they are sliding across each other. And when they are doing that, so they bring in the pigments with them, and so that's why it's different look. It's all visual, of course, and so that's why, again, it's long explanation. So,
but basically, just keep in mind that it just makes smoother paint surfaces.
Yeah.
As a general rule, the bigger the particle size, the longer the paint behaves.
No,
Not necessarily.
no, absolutely not. It's in this case, it's there's no rule. It's actually, again,
it's
it's
a
three
function.
different function, and again, we are talking step by step. And so here's what oil you will choose, and so what how much big, not like big particles, it's how many ratio like big particles to small particles, again. So because there no paint would be like just with big particles, it's range of them. So, and it's mostly about how you choose oil, and
It's oil
and
and particle size range.
yes,
The bigger the range, the more likely, not necessarily, but the more likely the paint will behave longer. This is a little bit off topic, but it might be good to talk about it. When Robert asks, when do you need to consider changing from canvas to board as a support, if at all?
now, today. So we already had AMA about, of course, the supports. Please take a look there, and we extensively talking about why canvas is not the best support. And so we, through years, we convinced so many artists to switch. And if you like the look of the canvas, you can adhere canvas to the panel. But if it's not absolutely necessary, if it's not an order from your customer where they want specifically, canvas, or it's huge, let's say huge size, it's the time right now to switch to the different surface that support, and better aluminum composite support. That's the best right now, what we know. Maybe tomorrow we will know something else, but...
And Robert, there's a free course on the paintingbestpractices.com website that talks about that exactly. So it's about painting failures. It describes the major cause of painting failures. So go to that one. You'll find that very informative. And then Nancy asks, if painting...
Hi, Nancy.
In painting in a layered fashion, can you paint a lower layer with chalk so it stands up, and a later layer with bodied or Velasquez medium so it'll end up with a glossier finish?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. You obviously, Nancy, you read so much of Georgia's topics, so absolutely you are talking about very sane way to paint. Yes.
Is garden lime a good extender?
No.
Absolutely no.
No, absolutely not. Not.
No. Unless you want to make limed oil, which is not a good thing.
No. Please, no.
Jenny asks, have you ever done a session solely on glazing?
No, we didn't. And I think it's coming. I do believe. Thank you for question. So next month's artist material advisor will be hopefully about watercolors. We are preparing big thing on March for watercolors, Rublev line, and we try to put all our watercolors back in stock. On top of that, we will introduce you for, I believe, 12 new colors. And so that would be our next session. And or on April or on May, we will talk about glazing, and we will talk about oleo gel specifically. And I'm hoping, I invited Kate Stone to our session to have an interview with her. she agreed, but she's very busy, and we will see when she will have a time. So it's or April or May. We will have about oleo gel, and then absolutely we will talk about glazing. So it's one of the topics what I absolutely needed, and thank you for that question.
Let me see here. There is a little, this is a little bit off topic. What does gum arabic added to gouache do? It's from Cynthia.
So gum arabic is actually the glue, what keeps the paint together, because otherwise it will just powder. So think it's like this: you take a pigment, you put with water, you paint it with that, and it's beautiful while it's wet. But once water evaporates, there's nothing to hold that pigment to the paper. So that's why gum arabic is the glue, what keeps particles of pigment.
Gouache contains gum arabic.
Yes.
Already.
Yes.
So it is the binder in gouache. This question,
is lead oil ground okay to use
as a poor man's ceruse?
Yeah.
I don't know how poor it is. But
Yeah. Yes, absolutely. There's nothing. There is no. I should take a little bit back. If again, if it doesn't bother you, because our lead oil ground has the dryers, and so if it doesn't bother you, so yes, absolutely, it's a little bit thin. I would think you probably would need to add a little bit of pigment, and I don't think lead white will work. So because why would you even deal with powder? But you can add titanium or chalk.
It's okay to use in that way as maybe
as
a
not
first
as
layer as a first layer in a painting. But
yeah.
Lori asks, is bodied oil, stand oil to me, considered a type of resin? No.
No.
No, it isn't. It's an oil. Resins are amorphous, solid substances.
Lori, thanks for you. Today we will have advertising for our painting best practices class, because we have whole session about resins and whole 3 hours about drying oils. Each of them we're explaining why good to use one oil over another, and of course we do talk about different resins. And including even alkyds. So that's, yes.
Can I use oleo gel as a binder medium to grind pigment into paint?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
That's mostly oil.
Yeah, and that's, in fact, I even telling artists if they need to very quickly mix something, but they don't have oil near, but they have oleo gel. Seems to me now everybody has the oleo gel. So then, yeah, very easy one. Good.
Nice comment from Ross. Many thanks for your work. It has transformed my practice.
Thank you, Ross. Thank you very much.
So looks like
we cover everything.
We've covered most of our questions. If anybody else has a question about it, we've covered everything about these particular extender pigments. We will have more. In the future. We'll talk about others. By the way, if you let me go back to here, I'll just show. So
no, here.
Yeah.
So it's left
so
and
if
right.
you're interested in experimenting with extender pigments, this is a full set, and you can see this. Tanya showed that earlier, and
if you not, so then we have Velasquez medium, we have Impasta medium, and of course I didn't mention, but I probably should. I will just have a bleep about. We have transparent base. It's basically you see the different label, so then it's noticeable. So this is so that is essentially Impasta medium, but with alkyd. It dries very, very fast. So for this case, I know we do have this question. So why we put under painting base? because if we will tell just people just this is dry or quick dry impasta medium, it will be wrongly used. So because it dries fast, I mean, we are talking fast over a couple of hours, and it dries matte, so which is good for underpainting when you can mix any of your umbers, whatever colors you need for imprimatura, so you mix with that. If it's thick, by the way, this new batch George changed already a little bit, so it was a little bit more stiff before. We are making thinner this time, but you can add any oil to that, so to make it a little bit more flowable if you want. And but be careful. Again, it's alkyd based, and it's impasta medium, just specifically for the underpainting layer.
One last question from Lori. Calcite, is it good for silver point?
Yes, absolutely.
And by the way, Lori, marble dust is calcite.
Calcite too, yes.
Calcite includes chalk and marble dust. So
yes.
Calcite is the mineral, which of course marble dust.
Different forms, little bit.
It's a different form of it. Marble dust and chalk are both forms of calcium carbonate.
Yes.
So it's all one big happy family. You can use them, but the form is different, like Tanya mentioned.
It's why we have in our line we have Easy Jessa, we have Easy Jessa Extra Fine, and we have traditional ground, silver point ground, and George is having different formulas there, and so then, but all of them very good for silver points. Yes, thank you. That's
Okay,
it.
That's it.
Thank you very much. As always, we appreciate you being with us today. And so next Artist Materials Advisor, we will advertise next month. And so hopefully it will be watercolors. And so if you have artists who know or who loves the watercolors, please invite them to that session. And just quick note, watercolors Rublev line we are using exactly the same pigments what we use in Rublev oil line. That's why some artists are very often use our watercolors on plein air, just to go and find the sketches, and so easy to figure out the colors. And so that would be interesting to us too. It's first time we will advertise that much on watercolors. We are proud of. Again, thank you very much. Have a great day, and see you next time. Cohorts, don't forget this Saturday, 11 o'clock Pacific time. See you then. Bye.